I stared at the pregnancy test in my trembling hands, watching two pink lines darken against the white plastic. The bathroom tiles felt cold beneath my bare feet. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. 2 tests, both positive. The scent hit me first. Pine and wild mountain air tinged with something deeper. Something that made my wolf stir restlessly beneath my skin. A growl rumbled from the doorway behind me. "You're pregnant." His voice carried that unmistakable alpha command that made my wolf whimper and submit. The low sound rolled through the small space, vibrating against the bathroom walls. I didn't need to turn around to know Kieran's golden eyes were probably glowing in the dim bathroom light. The mirror reflected his broad silhouette, filling the doorway completely. I clutched the test tighter, plastic digging into my palm. "Yes. How long have you known?" Each word came out measured. "Controlled. About 30 seconds longer than you have." I finally turned to face him, my bare feet silent on the cold tiles. Kieran filled the doorway completely, his broad shoulders tense beneath his black shirt. The fabric stretched across his chest with each breath. The scent of pine and something wild rolled off him in waves, stronger now that I was facing him directly. His jaw clenched, a muscle jumping beneath the stubble. "You should have told me you suspected." "I wanted to be sure first." My voice came out smaller than I intended. The words seemed to echo off the bathroom walls. "Besides, we agreed this was temporary, just until the pack tensions died down." Something flickered across his face. Pain, maybe, or disappointment. His golden eyes dimmed slightly, pupils contracting as he processed my words. "Temporary." He repeated the word like it tasted bitter on his tongue. I nodded. Though my chest ached with each breath, the motion felt mechanical, disconnected from the turmoil in my heart. We'd been clear about the arrangement 6 weeks ago. Crystal clear. With boundaries drawn in careful lines, I needed protection from the rival pack threatening lone wolves in the territory. He needed a fake mate to stop the constant pressure from his pack council to choose someone suitable. It should have stayed simple, clinical, a business arrangement wrapped in the pretense of romance. Instead, I'd fallen for him completely. "The baby changes things," Kieran said quietly. His voice had dropped to barely above a whisper. But the alpha authority still thrummed beneath each word. "Does it?" I lifted my chin, trying to project confidence I didn't feel. The pregnancy test crinkled in my grip. "You've made it clear you don't want a real mate. This doesn't have to complicate our deal." His eyes flashed brighter, gold bleeding into the irises until they practically glowed. "You think I'd let you raise my child alone? Your pack expects you to mate with someone from a good bloodline, someone who can strengthen political alliances." I set the test on the counter with careful precision, the plastic clicking against the marble surface. "I'm nobody, a lone wolf with no connections. You're mine." The words came out as a low snarl, vibrating with possession and something deeper. My heart skipped, missing an entire beat before hammering back to life. But I'd heard him on the phone yesterday, talking to his beta about pack expectations, about duty, about how a proper Luna would benefit everyone. The memory twisted in my chest like a knife. Am I? I met his stare directly, refusing to back down despite the alpha power radiating from him. "Because it feels like I'm just convenient." Kieran stepped closer. His presence filled the small space, making it hard to breathe. The air seemed to thicken around us, charged with tension and unspoken desires. "You think this is convenient for me? Having my wolf go insane every time you're out of my sight?" I blinked, startled by the raw admission. "What? You think it's convenient that I can't sleep unless you're in my bed? That I want to rip apart any male who looks at you too long?" His voice dropped to a whisper, but each word hit like a physical blow. That I've been in love with you since the second week you've been here? The words hit me like a physical blow. My knees went weak, and I had to grip the bathroom counter for support. You... what? I love you, Sage. I've been trying to find a way to make this permanent without pressuring you, without making you feel trapped. He dragged a hand through his dark hair, the strands falling across his forehead in disheveled waves. The baby just forces the timeline. My legs felt unsteady. The bathroom seemed to spin around me, tiles blurring at the edges of my vision. But your pack can learn to accept my choice, or they can find a new alpha. His golden eyes never left mine, burning with fierce determination. You and this baby are my priority now. I stared at him, afraid to hope, afraid to believe what I was hearing. You'd really choose me over pack politics? I already have. He reached for me slowly, giving me time to pull away. When I didn't, his large hands cupped my face gently. His palms were warm against my skin, calloused from years of training and fighting. The question is whether you'll choose me back. Kieran. I leaned into his touch despite myself, my cheek pressing against his palm. I've been choosing you since day one. I just didn't think I was an option. His thumb brushed across my cheekbone, the touch gentle and reverent. You're the only option. Before I could respond, his phone rang. The harsh electronic sound cut through the intimate moment like a blade. Kieran's expression darkened as he glanced at the screen, his jaw tightening. "It's Marcus," he said, referring to his beta. "I have to take this." He stepped into the bedroom, but I could hear every word clearly through the thin walls. My enhanced werewolf hearing picked up both sides of the conversation. "Alpha, we have a problem. The Blackwood Pack crossed our border an hour ago. They're demanding to speak with you about the lone wolf you're harboring." My blood went cold. Ice seemed to replace the marrow in my bones. The Blackwoods were the ones who'd been threatening me. They claimed I'd trespassed on their land months ago, before I'd even known Pack territories existed. "How many?" Kieran's voice carried deadly calm, but I could hear the underlying tension. 12. Armed. Their alpha is with them. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Sir, they specifically mentioned the female, said they have proof she stole from them. I pressed my hand to my mouth, stifling a gasp. I'd never stolen anything in my life, but Alpha Rex Blackwood had made it clear he wanted me punished for some perceived slight. That's why I'd sought Kieran's protection in the first place. "Tell them I'll meet them at the border, and Marcus, double the perimeter guard." Kieran hung up and turned back to me. His face had shifted into the cold, calculating expression he wore when Alpha duties called. The tender lover was gone, replaced by a warrior preparing for battle. "You heard?" I nodded, not trusting my voice. "I should go. If I leave now?" "No." The command in his voice made my knees weak, my wolf immediately wanting to submit. "You're not going anywhere." "Kieran, be reasonable. They won't hurt you. It's me they want." "Which is exactly why you're staying here." He moved closer, his presence radiating protective fury. The scent of pine and dominance rolled off him in waves. "I won't let them touch you." "But if something happens to you because of me?" My voice cracked, the words catching in my throat. I couldn't live with that. His expression softened slightly, the harsh lines around his eyes easing. "Nothing will happen to me, but I need to know you and the baby are safe while I handle this." The baby. Right. It wasn't just about me anymore. There was a life growing inside me now, a life that depended on both of us making smart choices. "Promise me you won't do anything stupid," I whispered. Define stupid. Starting a war with the Blackwood Pack. A smile ghosted across his lips, there and gone in an instant. "I'll try to keep the casualties to a minimum. Kieran." He kissed my forehead gently, his lips warm against my skin. The touch was tender, reverent, like a blessing. "I promise I'll come back to you. Both of you." Then he was gone, leaving me alone with my racing heart and 1,000 fears I couldn't voice. I paced the bedroom for exactly 3 minutes before I couldn't stand it anymore. My bare feet wore a path in the hardwood floor as anxiety clawed at my chest. Going to the window, I peered through the curtains toward the forest. Nothing moved among the trees, but I could sense tension in the air, like an approaching storm. The very atmosphere seemed to vibrate with potential violence. My phone buzzed against the nightstand. A text from an unknown number. "Come alone to the old mill, or your alpha dies. You have 1 hour." The phone slipped from my numb fingers, clattering against the hardwood floor. They had Kieran. Every instinct screamed at me to run to him. But I forced myself to think. This could be a trap, a way to draw me out while Kieran was actually safe at the border meeting. My hands shook as I tried to process the implications. But what if it wasn't? I called Marcus's number with shaking fingers, each digit feeling impossible to hit correctly. "Luna?" He answered on the first ring, though we'd never made the title official. "Where's Kieran? Is he safe?" A pause that lasted far too long. "He left for the border meeting 20 minutes ago." "Why?" I read him the text with a trembling voice. The silence on the other end stretched too long, filled with unspoken dread. "Marcus? The Blackwoods never showed at the border. We've been waiting." My heart stopped. The world tilted on its axis. "What do you mean they never showed?" "I mean we're standing here alone, no sign of them anywhere." The phone clattered to the floor as the full scope of their plan hit me. They'd lured Kieran away from the pack house, away from backup, away from safety. I had to warn him, had to. The lights went out. Darkness swallowed the room completely. Even my enhanced werewolf vision couldn't penetrate the absolute black. A window shattered downstairs. The sound of breaking glass cut through the silence like a scream. Heavy footsteps echoed through the house. Multiple sets moving with military precision. "Sage Matthews." A rough voice called from below, the words carrying the weight of threat. "We know you're here. Come quietly and we won't burn the place down." I grabbed my phone from the floor and quickly texted Marcus our address, but I had no idea if it went through. The house felt wrong now, invaded, corrupted by hostile presence. More footsteps, at least 3 different sets. Moving through the downstairs rooms with practiced efficiency, I looked around the bedroom desperately. My heart hammered against my ribs as I calculated options. The window was too high to jump safely, especially pregnant. The door led directly to the stairs they'd be coming up any moment. The closet. It was a long shot, but maybe. "Check upstairs," someone ordered. I dove into the walk-in closet and pressed myself behind Kieran's hanging shirts. His scent surrounded me, pine and comfort and safety. I tried to take strength from it, breathing in his familiar smell like armor against fear. The bedroom door crashed open with enough force to splinter wood. "She's not here," a voice said. Closer now. Close enough that I could hear the creak of floorboards under heavy boots. "Check everywhere. Bathroom, closet, under the bed." Footsteps approached my hiding spot. I held my breath and pressed deeper into the corner, making myself as small as possible. The baby. I had to think about the baby. The closet door swung open with a creak of hinges. Light from a flashlight swept across the hanging clothes, creating dancing shadows on the walls. I could see boots through the gap between shirts. Military-style combat boots, scuffed and worn. The light moved away slowly, methodically. The footsteps retreated. "Nothing up here," the voice called. "Then where the hell is she? Rex said she was definitely here." My blood chilled. Rex Blackwood was here, in Kieran's house. "Maybe she ran when she got the text," someone suggested. "No, her car's still in the driveway." Rex's voice carried up from downstairs. I'd only heard it once before, but it was unmistakable. Cold and sharp as winter wind. "She's here somewhere. What about the basement? Check it, and tear this place apart if you have to." The footsteps moved away from the bedroom. I waited until I couldn't hear them anymore, counting my heartbeats to measure time. Then I crept out of the closet on silent feet. My hands shook as I tried to call Marcus again. No signal. They were jamming communications somehow. Professional, military-grade equipment. A crash from downstairs told me they were making good on their promise to tear the place apart. I had maybe minutes before they came back up here with a more thorough search. The window was still my only option. I looked down at the drop, calculating angles and distances. 15 feet to the ground, maybe 20. Normally, I could handle that kind of fall, but with the baby. Another crash, closer this time, something heavy hitting the wall. I made my choice. I eased the window open as quietly as possible, wincing at every small sound. The night air hit my face, cool and damp with approaching rain. I swung one leg over the sill, then the other. The roof of the front porch extended below me, cutting the drop in half if I could land there and roll. "She's not in the basement," someone called from inside the house. "Then find her," Rex roared, his voice echoing with alpha authority. I pushed off from the window ledge. The porch roof rushed up to meet me. I hit harder than expected, the old shingles rough against my palms as I tried to absorb the impact. Pain shot through my right ankle, sharp and immediate, but nothing felt broken. I rolled to the edge of the porch roof and dropped to the ground as quietly as possible. My ankle protested, but it held my weight. The baby. Please let the baby be okay. The forest was 50 yards away. If I could make it to the tree line? "There!" someone shouted from an upstairs window. "She's running for the woods. So much for stealth." I ran. My ankle throbbed with each step, sending jolts of pain up my leg, but adrenaline carried me forward. Behind me, I could hear them crashing through the front door, shouting orders. "Cut her off at the ridge! Don't let her reach pack territory!" The trees rose ahead of me like salvation. Just a few more yards and I could lose them in the thick underbrush. My wolf form would be faster, but shifting while pregnant felt too risky. I couldn't take any chances with the baby. I reached the forest edge and plunged into the shadows between the pines. A gunshot cracked behind me. The bullet splintered bark inches from my head, sending wood fragments flying. They weren't just trying to capture me anymore. I zigzagged between the trees, using every trick I'd learned during my years as a lone wolf. Stay low, change direction often, use the terrain, don't run in straight lines. But they knew these woods too, and there were more of them. Another shot, this one closer, close enough that I felt the displaced air as the bullet passed. My lungs burned as I pushed deeper into the forest. I needed to find somewhere to hide, somewhere to wait for help, if help was coming. A fallen log appeared ahead, massive and moss-covered. I dove behind it just as another gunshot echoed through the trees. This time I felt the bullet pass overhead, so close it disturbed my hair. My phone vibrated against my leg. Somehow I had signal again. A text from Marcus. "On our way. Hold on." I nearly sobbed with relief, but "on our way" didn't help me right now. Footsteps crunched through the underbrush, getting closer. Multiple sets, spreading out to surround me. "I can smell her," someone said. "She's close. Rex wants her alive if possible. And if it's not possible, then we make sure she can't identify us." I closed my eyes and tried to think. The old mill they'd mentioned in the text was maybe a mile north of here. If I could circle around, approach from the back. But that assumed Kieran was actually there, assumed he was still alive. I couldn't think about that possibility, wouldn't let myself consider it. The footsteps were moving past my hiding spot. I waited until they were well beyond me, then crept out from behind the log on hands and knees. The forest floor was damp with dew, soaking through my pajama pants. A hand grabbed my shoulder. I spun around, heart hammering, and found myself face to face with Rex Blackwood. He was exactly as I remembered from our one encounter months ago. Tall, lean, with silver-streaked hair and eyes like chips of ice. He smiled, and it was all teeth. No warmth, no humanity. "Hello, Sage. We meet again." I tried to run, but his grip was iron strong. Alpha strength, enhanced by years of dominance and control. "I wouldn't," he said conversationally. "My men have orders to shoot if you try to escape again." As if summoned, two more figures emerged from the trees, both armed with military-grade rifles. "Now then," Rex continued, his voice pleasant and terrifying. "We're going to have a little chat about what you took from my territory." "I never took anything from you," I said through gritted teeth. "No? What about the information you sold to the hunters?" I stared at him, completely confused. What information? What hunters? "Don't play dumb. 3 of my pack members are dead because of what you told them. His grip tightened on my shoulder, claws extending slightly to pierce fabric and skin. You mapped our patrol routes, our safe houses. I've never spoken to a hunter in my life. The accusation was so absurd, I almost laughed. I don't even know what hunters you're talking about. The ones who attacked us 2 months ago. The ones who knew exactly where to find our vulnerable pack members. Understanding dawned slowly. You think I'm working with hunters? I know you are. We have proof. He nodded to one of his men, who pulled out a tablet. On the screen was a photo of a woman talking to 2 men in tactical gear. The woman had dark hair like mine, similar build, similar height. But it wasn't me. That's not me, I said. Of course you'd say that. Look closer. The nose is wrong. The jawline. That woman is taller than me. Rex glanced at the photo, then back at me. For a moment, uncertainty flickered in his cold eyes. You're wasting time, one of his men said. Kill her and let's go. Wait. Rex studied the photo more carefully, holding it up next to my face. The facial structure. It's not me, I repeated. I've never seen those men before in my life. A howl echoed through the forest, deep, resonant, and full of rage. Kieran. Rex's head snapped up. How did he find us so fast? The howl came again, closer this time. Answering howls rose from other directions. The pack was mobilizing, spreading through the forest like a living net. Sir, we need to go, one of the men urged. Rex looked between me and the photo one more time. I could see the doubt growing in his expression. Uncertainty replacing cold certainty. If you're not the informant, he said slowly, then who is? I don't know. But you're wasting time hunting the wrong person while the real traitor goes free. Another howl, so close now I could feel it in my bones. Kieran was coming, and he was bringing the entire pack with him. Sir, the urgency in his man's voice was unmistakable. Rex released my shoulder abruptly. This isn't over. If I find out you're lying, you won't, because I'm not. He studied my face for a long moment, then nodded to his men. We're leaving. What about her? Let her go, for now. They melted back into the forest like shadows, leaving me alone among the trees. I sank to my knees, finally allowing myself to shake. My hands trembled as I pressed them to my stomach, silently begging the baby to be okay. Kieran burst through the underbrush 30 seconds later in human form, his eyes blazing gold. He took one look at me and dropped beside me, pulling me against his chest. Are you hurt? Did they touch you? His hands moved over me carefully, checking for injuries with practiced efficiency. I'm okay. Scared but okay. When Marcus told me they'd taken you from the house, his voice broke slightly. I thought I'd lost you. They think I'm working with hunters. They have a photo, but it's not me. I pulled back to look at him. Kieran, someone in the supernatural community is feeding information to people who hunt werewolves. Rex's pack was attacked. People died. His expression darkened. We'll figure that out later. Right now, I just need you safe. The baby is fine. I can hear the heartbeat. He pressed his palm gently against my stomach. Strong and steady. Relief flooded through me like warm water. How can you hear it already? Alpha senses are stronger with my own offspring. His eyes met mine. Speaking of which, we need to talk about what happens next. Before I could respond, Marcus and 3 other pack members emerged from the trees. Alpha, the Blackwoods have withdrawn completely. No sign of them anywhere in our territory. Kieran helped me to my feet, keeping one arm around my waist. Good. Double the border patrols anyway, and I want a full investigation into this hunter situation. Already on it, Marcus said. Then his gaze shifted to me. Luna, are you injured? Just some bruises. Nothing serious. Marcus nodded, but I caught him exchanging a look with Kieran. There was something they weren't telling me. What is it? I asked. Kieran sighed. When the Blackwoods didn't show for the border meeting, we realized it was a trap. But by the time we got back to the house, they'd trashed the place, Marcus finished, completely destroying most of the downstairs. My heart sank. That beautiful house with its warm kitchen and cozy living room, the first place I'd felt truly safe in years. It's just stuff, Kieran said, reading my expression. We can rebuild. What matters is that you're safe. But I could see the tension in his jaw. The house had belonged to his family for generations. I'm sorry, I whispered. For what? If I hadn't come here, hadn't brought my problems to your pack. Stop. The alpha command in his voice made me look up sharply. You didn't cause this. Someone else is playing games with people's lives. But no buts. He cupped my face gently. You're my mate. My responsibility. My choice. And I'll protect what's mine. The possessiveness in his voice should have bothered me. Instead, it sent warmth spiraling through my chest. Mate? Marcus raised an eyebrow. I thought this was temporary. Plans change, Kieran said without taking his eyes off me. Sage is carrying my child. She'll need the full protection of the pack. And Luna status, Marcus added with a slight smile. I blinked. Luna status? The alpha's mate is automatically Luna of the pack, Kieran explained. It means you'll help me lead, make decisions that affect everyone. The weight of that responsibility hit me like a truck. I don't know anything about being Luna. You'll learn. His thumb brushed across my cheekbone. We'll figure it out together. Marcus cleared his throat. Alpha, we should get moving. The house isn't secure. Kieran nodded. We'll stay at the pack house tonight. Tomorrow, we'll assess the damage and start rebuilding. As we walked back through the forest, I found myself lost in thought. Everything had changed so quickly. This morning, I'd been a temporary guest with a secret. Now, I was supposedly the Luna of one of the most powerful packs in the region. And pregnant. And apparently still being hunted by people who thought I was a traitor. Overwhelmed? Kieran asked quietly. That's one word for it. We don't have to make any decisions tonight. Just focus on staying safe. But even as he said it, I could feel the weight of expectation settling around me like a heavy cloak. The pack members who met us at the tree line all bowed slightly when they saw me. Word was already spreading. The pack house loomed ahead, a massive log structure that housed unmated pack members and served as the administrative center. I'd been there a few times, for dinners, but always as a guest. Now I was supposed to help run the place. Kieran, I said as we climbed the front steps. Yeah? What if I'm terrible at this Luna thing? He stopped and turned to face me fully. You won't be. How can you be so sure? Because I've watched you these past weeks. I've seen how you care about people, how you think before you act. His golden eyes were steady and sure. You're already more Luna than you realize. Before I could respond, the front door opened and an older woman stepped out. Elena, the pack's head housekeeper and unofficial grandmother to everyone. Oh, thank the moon you're both safe, she said, pulling me into a fierce hug. When we heard what happened, we're fine, Elena, Kieran assured her. But we'll be staying here tonight. Of course, I've already prepared the Luna suite, I started. The what? The Alpha's private quarters, Elena explained. They've been empty for years, but I keep them ready just in case. She led us inside and up a grand staircase I'd never climbed before. The Luna suite turned out to be a spacious set of rooms on the third floor with a sitting area, bedroom, and bathroom that was bigger than most apartments. I'll have dinner sent up, Elena said. You both look like you could use some quiet time. After she left, I stood in the middle of the sitting room and tried to process everything. Kieran moved around the space, checking windows and doors with the automatic thoroughness of someone used to threats. This is temporary, I said suddenly. He paused in his security check. What? Staying here, being Luna, all of it. I turned to face him. Just until we figure out who the real informant is and clear my name with the Blackwoods. Sage, I'm serious. I know you think you have to protect me because of the baby, but I won't trap you into a life you don't want. What makes you think I don't want this life? Because 3 hours ago, you were planning to fulfill your duty to the pack by choosing a proper mate, someone with connections and political value. 3 hours ago, I was an idiot. I blinked at the blunt response. You want to know what changed my mind? He crossed the room to stand in front of me. Wasn't the pregnancy, though that definitely accelerated things. Then what? It was the thought of losing you. His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. When I realized the Blackwoods had taken you, when I thought I might never see you again, everything else stopped mattering. Political alliances stopped mattering. Pack expectations stopped mattering. Duty stopped mattering. The only thing I could think about was getting you back safe. I stared up at him, afraid to hope. I love you. Sage, not because you're pregnant with my child, not because you need protection. I love you because you make me laugh, because you challenge me, because you see past the alpha authority to who I really am underneath. And who are you underneath? Someone who's been waiting his whole life for you. The simple honesty in his words broke something open inside my chest. All the walls I built, all the reasons I'd given myself for why this couldn't work, crumbled at once. I love you too, I whispered. His smile was like sunrise. Yeah, I've been trying not to, but I do. Good, because I plan to spend the next 50 years convincing you to stay. Before I could respond, he kissed me. Soft and sweet at first, then deeper as I've melted against him. This was what I'd been afraid to want, what I'd thought was impossible. When we finally broke apart, I was breathless. 50 years, I managed. Minimum. Werewolves live longer than humans. Good thing I'm a werewolf then. Very good thing. A knock at the door interrupted us. Elena's voice called through the wood. Dinner's here. And Alpha. Marcus needs to speak with you when you have a moment. Kieran sighed. Duty calls. Go, I'll be fine. You sure? I nodded toward the dinner tray Elena was setting up. I'll be right here eating for two. He kissed my forehead. I'll be back soon. And Sage? Yeah? We're going to figure all this out. The house, the pack, the baby, the Blackwoods. All of it. Promise? I promise. After he left. I sat down to dinner and tried to wrap my head around the day's revelations. This morning I'd been a temporary guest with a secret. Tonight I was the Alpha's mate, pregnant with his child, and apparently the Luna of his pack. Oh, and still possibly being hunted by people who thought I was a traitor. It should have been terrifying, and parts of it were. But for the first time in my adult life, I wasn't facing the future alone. Whatever came next, Kieran and I would handle it together. I put my hand on my still flat stomach and smiled. Looks like you're going to have quite an interesting life, little one. A gentle flutter deep in my belly might have been my imagination. Or it might have been the baby's first response. Either way, it felt like a promise. When Kieran returned an hour later, I was curled up in the oversized armchair by the window. Reading a book Elena had brought about pack dynamics and Luna responsibilities. Research? He asked, settling on the arm of the chair. Crash course in not embarrassing myself at pack meetings. You couldn't embarrass me if you tried. I looked up at him. What did Marcus want? His expression grew serious. We found something in the wreckage of the house. A listening device. My blood went cold. Someone was spying on us? For weeks, looks like. High-tech stuff. Military grade. The hunters? Maybe. Or whoever's feeding them information. He ran a hand through his hair. Either way, they know everything we've said in that house, including our conversation about the pregnancy, about our feelings for each other, about pack business and security measures. How much damage could they do with that information? I asked. Depends on what they want. If they're just trying to map our territory and identify key pack members, we can adjust our security accordingly. And if they want more than that, then we have a bigger problem than I thought. I closed the book and leaned back against the chair. I keep bringing danger to your pack. No, you don't. You're just the convenient scapegoat. He shifted to sit properly in the chair, pulling me onto his lap. Think about it. Someone plants listening devices in my house. Someone feeds hunting information to people targeting supernatural communities. Someone makes sure a lone wolf gets blamed for all of it. You think this is all connected? I think someone is playing a very elaborate game, and we've been dancing to their tune without realizing it. The thought sent chills down my spine. What do? We get ahead of the game instead of reacting to it. His arms tightened around me protectively. Starting tomorrow, we go on the offensive. Meaning? Meaning we find out who's really behind this, and we end it. The determination in his voice was both comforting and terrifying. I'd seen what Kieran was capable of when someone threatened his pack. Now someone had threatened his mate and unborn child. I almost felt sorry for them. Almost. What about the Blackwoods? I asked. Rex seemed to believe me when I said I wasn't the woman in the photo. Maybe, but his pack members are still dead. He'll want justice for that. Even if he knows I'm not responsible? He'll want the real culprit, and he'll expect our help finding them. I nodded. It was fair, really. If someone had killed members of Kieran's pack, I'd want justice too. This is going to get complicated, isn't it? Probably. He pressed a kiss to the top of my head. But we'll handle it. Together? Together. I settled more comfortably against his chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. Outside the window, the moon was rising over the forest, painting everything in silver light. 6 weeks ago, I'd been alone and scared, seeking temporary shelter from a threat I didn't understand. Now I was part of something bigger, part of a pack, a family, a future I'd never dared to imagine. The road ahead might be dangerous, but for the first time in years, I wasn't walking it alone, and that made all the difference. Kieran? Thank you. For what? For choosing me. For protecting me. For making me believe I deserve to be chosen and protected. His arms tightened around me. You deserve everything good in this world, Sage. I plan to spend the rest of my life making sure you know that. The rest of your life, huh? At least. I smiled and closed my eyes, feeling safer than I had in months. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new threats to face and problems to solve. But tonight, I was exactly where I belonged. In the arms of my alpha, carrying his child, surrounded by the protection of his pack. Our pack, our family, our future. I woke before dawn to the sound of hushed voices in the hallway outside our door. Kieran was already sitting up beside me, his body tense with alertness. Stay here, he whispered. But I was already reaching for the robe Elena had left draped over the chair. Not a chance. He gave me a look that said he wanted to argue, but footsteps were approaching our door. A soft knock followed. Alpha, it's Marcus. We have a situation. Kieran opened the door to reveal his beta's grim expression. Behind Marcus stood 2 pack members I didn't recognize, both looking like they'd been running hard. What is it? Kieran asked. These are runners from the Northern Territory pack. They arrived 20 minutes ago with urgent news. The taller of the 2 stepped forward, still breathing hard. Alpha Kieran, Alpha Catherine sent us to warn you. The hunters have escalated their attacks. 3 packs hit in the last 48 hours. My stomach dropped. How many casualties? 14 dead. 23 wounded. All the attacks followed the same pattern. They knew exactly where to strike for maximum damage. Kieran's jaw clenched. Someone's still feeding them information. It gets worse, the second runner said. We intercepted communications suggesting their next target is either your pack or the Blackwoods. When? Soon, maybe within the next day or 2. Marcus stepped closer. Alpha, if they're planning to hit us here at the pack house, we evacuate non-essential personnel immediately, Kieran decided. Elders, children, anyone who can't fight, those to the safe houses in the mountains. What about Sage? Marcus asked quietly. All eyes turned to me. I lifted my chin, already knowing what they were thinking. Pregnant Luna equals liability in a fight. I'm not hiding while everyone else risks their lives, I said firmly. Sage. Kieran's voice carried warning. No, if someone is targeting our pack because of me, I need to be part of stopping them. You're pregnant. I'm barely 6 weeks along. I'm not helpless. You're also the informant's primary target, Marcus pointed out. Taking you away removes their main objective. Or it splits our forces when you have to send people to protect me instead of defending the pack house. Kieran stared at me for a long moment. I could practically see him weighing options, calculating risks. There might be a third choice, he said slowly. Which is? We don't wait for them to attack us. We take the fight to them. The room went quiet. Marcus frowned. You mean hunt the hunters? I mean we find their base of operations and end this before they can strike again. Kieran's voice carried cold determination. They've been picking us off one pack at a time, but if multiple packs work together, a coordinated strike, I said, understanding. But we'd need to know where they are, and we'd need to be sure about who's feeding them information, Marcus added. One of the runners cleared his throat. Actually, we might have a lead on that. Everyone turned to him. The Moonridge pack was hit yesterday. Before their alpha died, he managed to get off a message. Said he recognized one of the hunters, someone who used to be pack. A werewolf is working with hunters? The disgust in Kieran's voice was unmistakable. Apparently, Alpha Derek's last words were, "The traitor has silver eyes." I felt Kieran go very still beside me. Silver eyes, Marcus repeated slowly. How many werewolves have you ever seen with silver eyes? It's rare, Kieran said carefully. Maybe 1 in 1,000. But you know someone with silver eyes, don't you? I asked, reading the tension in his posture. He nodded grimly. My cousin, David. He was exiled from the pack 5 years ago. Exiled for what? Selling pack weapons to humans, using his access to our armory to make money on the black market. Kieran's hands clenched into fists. I should have killed him instead of just banishing him. You couldn't have known he'd escalate to this, Marcus said. Couldn't I? He always resented pack law, always thought humans were superior because of their technology. Kieran stood and began pacing. If he's working with hunters now, he'd have detailed knowledge of pack structures, traditions, weaknesses, and he'd know this pack house better than anyone, I realized. He grew up here, which means he knows every entrance, every blind spot, every secret passage. The implications hit me like a physical blow. We weren't just facing external enemies. We were up against someone who knew all our secrets. We need to warn the other packs, Marcus said. Already on it, Kieran replied, reaching for his phone. But first we need to get our people to safety. The next few hours passed in a blur of organized chaos. Pack members scattered to gather essentials and move vulnerable members to secure locations. I found myself in the strange position of helping coordinate an evacuation while simultaneously being someone who was supposed to evacuate. Luna, your bag is packed, Aleda said, appearing at my elbow with a small suitcase. The car to the mountain safe house leaves in 10 minutes. I'm not going. But Alpha Kieran said, Alpha Kieran can discuss it with me directly. Elena looked torn between duty to her Alpha and respect for her Luna. I took pity on her. It's not your fault, Elena, but I'm staying. She nodded reluctantly and hurried off to help with other preparations. I continued helping organize supplies until a hand on my shoulder made me turn. Kieran stood behind me, his expression unreadable. We need to talk. He led me to a quiet corner of the main hall, away from the controlled chaos of evacuation preparations. You're not staying for the fight. Yes, I am. Sage, be reasonable. You're pregnant. David will specifically target you, which is exactly why I can't hide. If he's after me, use that. Set a trap. Absolutely not. Kieran, think about it strategically. I'm the bait he wants most. If I disappear, he'll just wait us out or target another pack. I won't risk you. And I won't let other people die because I was too scared to take a calculated risk. We stared at each other, both stubborn and both afraid. Finally, Kieran sighed. There might be a compromise. I'm listening. You stay, but you're never alone, and at the first sign of real danger, you run. Deal. I mean it, Sage. Your safety comes first. Our baby's safety comes first, I corrected, which means ending this threat permanently. He cupped my face gently. I love that you want to protect the pack, but I need you to promise me you won't take unnecessary risks. Define unnecessary. Don't make me order you as your alpha. Don't make me remind you that Luna trumps alpha in matters of pack welfare. A smile ghosted across his lips. Did you learn that from Elena's book? Maybe. You're going to be a formidable Luna. I'm counting on it. Our moment was interrupted by Marcus jogging over with a radio in his hand. Alpha, We've got movement on the eastern border. Looks like a scouting party. How many? 3 vehicles, maybe 12 people total. David? Unknown. They're staying just outside our territory. Kieran's expression hardened. They're probing our defenses, seeing how we react. What do we do? Nothing yet. Let them think we don't know they're there. He turned to me. This is it. Last chance to reconsider the safe house. Not happening. Then stay close to me. And Sage? Yeah? Trust me to keep you safe. I nodded, though we both knew that in a fight, anything could happen. The best plans rarely survived contact with the enemy. The day stretched on with growing tension. Pack members took positions around the house, weapons checked and ready. I helped where I could, feeling useless but trying to contribute. As evening approached, the scouting party withdrew. But none of us relaxed. This was just the calm before the storm. "They'll come tonight," Kieran said during our hastily eaten dinner, under cover of darkness. How do you know? Because that's what I would do. As if summoned by his words, the lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in a moment later, bathing everything in red. Kieran was on his feet instantly, hand on his weapon. "Positions," he called out. "This is not a drill." The sound of breaking glass came from multiple directions at once. They were hitting us from all sides. "Sage, basement, now." "I'm not—" "That's an order." The Alpha command hit me like a physical force, my wolf immediately wanting to obey. But I fought it, drawing on every ounce of stubbornness I possessed. "I'm staying with you." His eyes blazed gold in the emergency lighting. "We don't have time to argue." Gunfire erupted from the north side of the house, then the south. They weren't just probing anymore. This was war. Kieran pressed a gun into my hands. "If I tell you to run, you run." "Understood?" I nodded, checking the safety and magazine with practiced ease. Growing up as a lone wolf meant learning to defend yourself. "Stay behind me," he ordered, then led me toward the sounds of battle. What we found was chaos. Pack members were holding defensive positions, but the attackers had military-grade equipment and training. And they knew exactly where to strike. "David's intelligence," Kieran growled. "He knows all our weak points." A figure appeared in the shattered doorway, tall, lean, with silver eyes that glowed in the red emergency lighting. "Hello, cousin," David said, his voice carrying easily over the sounds of gunfire. "Miss me?" The moon continued its journey across the sky, watching over us all with ancient, knowing eyes. And in that silver light, one thing became clear. This fight would determine not just our survival, but the future of every pack in the territory. Win or lose, nothing would ever be the same again.